There are those who said this day would not come. Those who said that Outcast was a myth. Yeah, that was me. I said those things. G'day everyone, my name is Ryonix, and welcome to a mod review for Doki Doki Literature Club. Today, the mod we will be reviewing is Doki Doki Outcast, a Year of the Purple mod made by Mattercrafter. Fuck me, I'm having a stroke, Jesus. Rip my Australian accent, jeez. Now, before we get actually started into the reviewing of the mod, I do have some bad news. Two of the Year of Purple mods that were sent to be released, Alone Together and Lavender Scent, they've both been cancelled. So now the only Year of Purple mod left in production is Fallen Angel, which should still be pretty good, but it's a shame that there's only one more after Outcast. Now, onto the review. Now, unlike most of the mod devs that I cover in these videos, Mattercrafter is a guy who I've actually talked with before, and he seems like a nice guy. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna roast the shit out of his mod, but I'm gonna feel bad about it afterwards. Alright, but first let's get the basics out of the way. First off, this is a romance mod. It is primarily Yuri focused. The other characters are there, but there's no route for them. None of the Dokis go crazy, none of your files are messed with in any way, and the playtime is roughly 4 to 5 hours. Now, the plot. Basically, Outcast is Matt's interpretation of what Yuri would have been like without Monika's interference in the main game. It's mostly set around the school and is a sort of slice of life mod, which is kind of rare these days. With all these mods like Fruits of the Literature Club and Longer Roads, you don't really get many mods like this, so it was a nice change of pace. I do have to say that it does reuse a lot of scenes from Act 1 of the original DDLC, but it's changed enough so that it's not boring to read most of the time. Now for the characters. Pretty much all the characters are shown well, but they're fairly flat characters. They have no problems of their own, no character arcs of their own, and they are pretty much set aside to make Yuri the main focus of this mod. Considering it's a Yuri-focused mod, it's not that big of a deal, but like, these are still characters that we've grown to like. They're still able to bring depth to the story, but they're just not used for that. Now, I do have to mention that Yuri's character was changed a decent bit. This is Matt's interpretation of what her character would have been like, but still, there are a lot of differences that you really can't account Monika for. To start off with, Yuri is far less apprehensive, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. To be fair, Yuri in the main DDLC was very apprehensive and very socially awkward. Outcast has Yuri starting most of the conversations you have with her, which just seems very out of character for her. In the main game, she starts conversations with you twice, and after that is simply too nervous to do it, and is waiting for you to interact with her. There are also a lot of subtle key aspects of her character which are no longer there. A big example is when she comes over to your house to prepare for the festival, she doesn't start looking through your stuff right away. This may not seem like much, but really it's a pretty big deal when it comes to characterization. A lot of people who have guessed what sort of mental illnesses the Dokis have put Yuri with autism and borderline personality disorder. Two things which I have personal experience with. And I can tell you that as a kid with autism, I had this exact same experience. The first time I went over to a friend's house, I started looking through his stuff because I was curious. He yelled at me not to do that. And now I understand that that's an invasion of his privacy, but back then, I didn't know that. People with autism don't really understand social situations like that until we've experienced them. We have no natural sense of what's right or wrong. I'm 18 now, I've had a lot of experience, so I'm not that bad with it. Sort of. But Yuri, she hasn't really had anyone to teach her this stuff. She would be absolutely horrible with all this, and all that stuff is just gone. And also, there's no licking your finger scene in Outcast, which I sort of understand. It's not that big a deal, but it is a characterizing moment for her. It shows that despite how apprehensive she is, she can also be very impulsive, which is a main symptom of borderline personality disorder. And it's just taking that stuff away sort of really detracts from her character a little bit. To be honest, it's all the reason why, while Yuri is the most mature of all the characters in the game, she sometimes is the one who acts the most childish. That's simply because of these mental illnesses she has, which means she doesn't really know how to interact in a proper way. She's still learning, much like a child is. Again, all this stuff is just minor things that I've chosen to point out. Matt is changing the character, so I'm willing to let it slide, but I don't really like it. However, there are some points in the mod where Yuri's character is shown incredibly well. This is mainly in the moments where she's thinking to herself in her room. It does still show you how she's very unsure of how love and friendship works and how she's very unsure of herself. Those scenes were done very well in my opinion. A little side note that I just chose to add in here, there is a bit of bullying portrayed in Outcast, which is the main problem for Yuri in this game. And I must say, as a person who has been bullied in the past, it was fairly realistic. It didn't create an accurate representation of what it felt like to be bullied, but still, it gave a nice outsider's perspective on it. Again, not really important to the review, but I figured Matt should get some praise for it. Now for the choices. There are a lot of choices in Outcast, much more so than there usually is in these linear storytelling type things. And for the most part, these choices are handled very well. Wait, what? should be so gullible. I know you'll like it, sigh. Wait, please tell me the game just straight up ends if I just don't join the literature club. Siri, I'm going to have to decline your offer. After we reach the school grounds, I say goodbye to Siri and we go to our respective classes. Alright, please tell me the game just straight up ends. School day is pretty ordinary and it's over before I know. Oh, Matt! Wasted opportunity. Fourth ending right there. At nearly every point that I needed to make a choice, I was stuck between what to pick. There are some times when there is only one option to pick, but for the most part, it's the option you would have chosen anyway, so it's not really that annoying. Jeez, man, you said there was loot stuff in Outcast. You didn't mention this. I hate to make jokes in such a touching scene like this. This is so cute. Of course I'll hold your hand, Yuri. Sure, I'd love to. Yay. We both gently hold each other's hand. It's the cutest shit I've ever fucking seen, I swear to God. I need to take the time to go over some technical issues now, cause there are a few. Oh boy, are there a few. First off, there are a lot of points where characters will rapidly change poses every time they mention dialogue. To be fair, it's not a big issue. I'd rather they change poses constantly rather than staying in one pose for 200 or so lines. But again, the problem with Outcast is they're changing poses one after the other every single time a character says a line, and it just looks very unnatural. They're not going through natural body movements. For example, with Yuri, her main poses are arms behind her back, one arm up, and then two arms up. Generally, when you're switching between these poses, you'll want to start on the extreme of one end, so let's say the hands behind her back. Then you'll move to one arm up, and then you'll move to three arms up. Unless something shocking or scary happens, in which case you can skip straight to both arms up. Again, it's a minor point, but it would make the mod so much better if it wasn't there. Also, while the music itself was very good in this mod, I'll get more onto that later, it wasn't used as effectively as it could be. Especially in the moments where it was retelling the scenes of Act 1, there's a lot of points where the music chooses to fade out instead of suddenly stop. You may think that it would make for better storytelling if the music faded out. It's a better transition for the person. But the whole point of stopping the music suddenly is that on certain lines where it's meant to be shocking or is meant to interrupt your train of thought, the music will stop, the scene will change, and a new character will pop out, so you actually experience that shock rather than having to see the characters experience that shock. Again, minor points, but it's these little tiny points that add up to really detract from the whole experience. Also, I do have to mention that despite an entire update to fix spelling and grammar mistakes, they are still present. They are few and far between, but really, if you're gonna release an entire update to fix them, you want to have pretty much all of them fixed. But anyway, I feel like I should start actually mentioning the positive things about the mod, because it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. First off, we'll go over the art. Outcast has a lot of new CGs, one of which is not safe for work, but there is the option to skip it. Thanks for that, Matt, by the way. While the CGs themselves are drawn very well, and in a similar enough art style that it doesn't shock you once you move into the new CGs, one of them is reused, and another is made almost purely from Photoshop DDLC assets. It's not that big of an issue when you're playing, but if you're gonna take all the time and money to pay for all these new CGs, then you should make sure that all of them are quality. A big problem with Salvation was that most of the CGs in it had very different art styles that detracted from the whole experience. I should mention that the art was made by Fjord, and the ones that he did originally, he did a great job with. They all look very nice. Problem is, he's also the reason Outcast is releasing now, and not December of last year. Now I should go over the music. The music added to this mod is pretty much perfect. There's nothing I can really critique for it. Pretty much all the music is made by Jariv, a YouTuber who I've actually used for some of my projects. The music adds a lot to the mood and can even make stuff like the main menu a lot better. Just take a look at this. However, one of the problems with it is that you can see what music is in the mod before you even play it. Months before Outcast even released, Matt released a credits list showing all the music that was in, so you could listen to it beforehand and really detract from the whole experience. I sound like a broken record at this point. Now, voice acting. When I first heard there was going to be voice acting in Outcast, I was very nervous. I usually don't like voice acting in mods, and I feel that it often interrupts your own train of thought. It's sort of like when you've read a book as a child, and then you go to see the movie of it, and the actors playing all these characters don't match what you've seen in your head. It's not necessarily the fault of the creator or the actor, but it really just ruins this whole representation you had of the character. Luckily, the voice acting is used in very good moments. It is only ever used when Yuri is thinking to herself, or in one specific scene which I'm not going to mention, but it was used perfectly well then, and incredibly well everywhere else. It adds a lot of extra emotion to the scenes, and the acting itself was actually very good. Now for the endings. There are 3 endings to Doki Doki Outcast. The good, the bad, and the neutral ending. I'm not going to spoil them for you because I believe you should experience all of them for yourself. Yes, all of them. Don't worry, the neutral ending is fine. It's a neutral ending. There's no way it would be even worse than the bad ending. I do have to mention that while none of the endings were able to make me cry, it was so fucking close. I was right there. You know, it's times like this where I really hate being a mod reviewer. Where I hate that I have to go and see every single ending. Cause I know picking this option, which I'm going to pick, I know it's gonna end badly. I know it's gonna break my heart. I know it's gonna make me cry like a 6-year-old girl. And I know I'm gonna hate playing through it, but I have to anyway. Really speaks volumes about the writing of this mod, if even just making a choice like this makes me this emotionally distraught. Like, fuck me, man. You're gonna break my heart, I swear. Overall, I have to say, this was an amazing mod. It's definitely not the best I've ever experienced, but it is still on my top 5. If you are looking to play all the endings, go for the bad endings first. Get them out of the way, because the good ending is wholesome as fuck. I'm gonna have to take a break. Oh my god. This was just perfect, really. No, it wasn't perfect. It had its flaws, but in terms of the story, like, the endings and everything, that was just incredible. That was emotionally traumatizing, but one of the best mods I've ever played. Oh, Matt. You did a good job with this one. I'll be playing this again. I will. And I'll probably cry twice as hard without having people watch me on camera. Matt, you did an amazing job with this. Well done, buddy. Unfortunately, this is Mattercrafter's last DDLC mod, but he is going to be working on another visual novel project after this. If you want to keep updated to that, or just on what Matt is doing in general, you can check out his YouTube in the description below. But unfortunately, that is all from me, so thank you for joining me on this adventure. If you enjoyed it, then let me know down in the comments below. And I'll be sure to get to it as soon as I can. And thanks so much for watching. Goodbye! I'm sorry, Matt. Oh, shit! Apparently, the fear of clouds is very, very... a big thing in like a lot of countries like America and stuff, but it's one once you got over the weird stuff. Get Monica's route.